Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to today's virtual Playhouse here at Eventide Theater Company. You can see I just want to deliver a short curtain speech before we get started. I want to thank you for joining us today, especially on this somewhat dreary weather day. I'm sure many of you folks have been battling quite the traffic out there on Cape Cod, and hopefully you have a chance now to sit down, put your feet up, maybe pour yourself a drink, be it coffee or something stronger, and you're here to join us for our virtual Playhouse today. We're excited about today's presentation because today we get to welcome our playwright in residence, Candace Perry. She's presenting 3 different shows for us today. The first one you may be familiar with is called Grist for the Mill, which was part of our Playwrights showcase for our Playwrights ETC organization here, part of our sort of the Playwrights writing lab arm of Eventide Theater Company. We've got 2 others, which we'll introduce as they come up. We hope that you enjoy these presentations, and if you are having a good time, and if you appreciate what we're doing here at Eventide Theater, I would ask you to please consider becoming a donor or a member. You can do either by going to our website, eventidearts.org, and you can follow the links there to make a donation or to become a member. We have a lot of great member events that are going to be coming up over the next year. You can also make a donation simply by texting the letters ETC for Eventide Theater Company, ETC, to the number 44321. It'll bring you to a secure website, and you can make a small donation there. We welcome donations in any size. There is no donation too small. There is no donation too big. So anything you'd like to do to support us, as we've been able to continue bringing this virtual programming to you since a little over a year ago, as we were all sequestered and closed in due to COVID. Now we're sequestered and closed in because of a slightly dreary day, but we're still here for you. So please consider supporting what we do and what we have here. Again, thank you for joining us, and please sit back and enjoy our presentation of today's Eventide Theater Company's virtual Playhouse, our first production, Candace Perry's Grist for the Mill.
Welcome, Agents Carling and Jasper. Oh, we seem to have a good audio. Is there a problem with your light?
No problem.
But you're both wearing sunglasses.
Comes with the job.
But you're not on duty.
But we're in bureau-mandated marital counseling.
I prefer marital therapy. My job is not to counsel nor give advice for the lovelorn.
Perfect. Can we get over with it?
My wife likes to get down to business.
And how do you feel about that, Sam?
Feel about what?
Your wife's compulsion for getting down to business. Does she rush you during sex?
Hey, nowhere.
Is she anxious to get it over with?
Hey, nowhere in that 5-page form that we had to fill out did it say that we had any sexual problems?
But you are having problems, correct?
Well, we're perfectly capable of figuring that out for ourselves.
Maybe. But the Bureau can't really take that chance. Seem your relationship is in trouble over a sock monkey.
Well, not just any sock monkey. Bobo was very special to Kate.
Yeah, and I'm not sure that mandated marital therapy will get us anywhere.
Agent Carling, I'm sure I don't need to remind you how critical our work is in these times of mounting domestic terrorism, not to mention a worldwide deadly pandemic. The Bureau needs to know that you two are still fit for duty. Do you read me?
Yes, loud and clear.
Good. Let's listen to the recording that alerted us to your difficulties.
Hey, babe, why's the dog outside?
Roger misbehaved.
There's a first.
Kate, sweetheart, there's been a little accident. Seems Roger got into our room and he...
How could Roger get into our room if the door was closed?
I forgot to close it when I left for work.
Oh, God, Sam, how hard is it to close the door? So what did he do now?
He jumped on the bed and thought Bobo was a chew toy.
A chew toy? Your frigging dog chewed Bobo? Oh, how bad.
Pretty bad. Here, I saved what's left in this bag.
Let me see. No.
Let's pause here. Kate, you're an agent with 30 years experience in covert operations. The Bureau has some concern in light of your hysterical outpouring over a sock monkey. You've gone soft.
Oh, that recording was made in the privacy of our home. And yes, we know that we are being recorded all the time. I wasn't responding to an enemy, but to my husband. I'm allowed to have feelings, aren't I?
Of course you are. Have you always been so hostile toward Sam's dog?
She's not a fan.
But you agreed on the dog together.
Sam really wanted a dog after the kids moved out.
I had the greatest dog when I was in law school. We trained for marathons, took long walks. You know, man's best friend.
Now, best friend who didn't need a conversation to be happy, just needed some food and a rub behind the ears.
Are you saying Sam doesn't converse with you?
Oh, no. We talk all the time. I just said that what he really wanted was to be the guy that he was back in law school, 25 years ago when he still had knees to run marathons.
Sam, that true?
Well, sure. Part of me would like to be back in that time before life became so complicated.
Are you regretting your career choice?
Oh, no, absolutely not. I love working for the Bureau. I love it that I get to work with Kate. Serving our country for the common good.
It's not an easy life.
Oh, but it's quite satisfying, if you don't count the certain damage of trust, which is what I thought we're here to discuss.
All right, then let's get back to the recording.
I'm really sorry. I've been working with him, and I thought I trained him to stay off the...
You haven't trained that stupid dog to do anything except eat, bark, and slobber. How could you, Sam? How could you let him get into our room and chew up Bobo?
I'm so sorry.
Oh, Nana made him for me when I was 10. And now your idiot dog has destroyed him.
Look, Kate, I'm really, really sorry. What can I do?
You can get Bobo fixed.
Well, most of the stuffing is gone and his eyes are...
Oh, fix him. Just get him fixed.
The Bureau was encouraged, Sam, that you would fix the problem. But antennas went up when we heard what came a week later.
Oh, when Sam... Oh, he deliberately tried to deceive me? You tried to play me like a rookie informant?
Kate, sweetheart, I was just trying to fix things.
Let's listen.
I don't believe what a great job the seamstress said the cleaners did.
Let me see.
Ta-da! Good as new.
Wow, the tassel looks great. And you added red ribbon at the top of his thighs?
Well, tops of boots. Give him some style. Cover some of the damage.
My husband, the fashion designer. Who knew? Oh, Sam, I'm sorry I've been such a pain about this. You really put a lot of thought into getting him repaired.
Gave it my best shot.
Hey, hon, what was the woman's name who fixed Bobo? I'd like to thank her.
Mrs. Yang at the cleaners. Why don't you write her a note? I'll drop it off the next time I'm there.
Oh, you're the best. My Bobo's back and he's coming after you. Hey, la-dee-da, Bobo's back.
Sorry to interrupt you, but I just have to tell you how everyone loved your rendition of My Bobo's Back.
I'm glad I could entertain my colleagues. Can we just finish listening?
No dancing with Bobo. He's a delicate creature, you know.
Right. Whoops. Looks like dancing wasn't so good for the boot tops. The ribbon is slipping.
Here, I'll take it back and get it fixed.
Wait a minute. What's this tag? Sam? Made in China? Oh, by Mrs. Yang, you think? You lowlife. You liar. This isn't Bobo.
But you thought it was, and you were happy. What's the difference?
What's the difference?
It's a sock monkey, Kate, just like the one your grandmother made for you, but newer.
It's a piece of mass-produced crap. Give it to Roger for a chew toy. Maybe he'll choke on it.
I just wanted you to be happy.
I'm not. Where's my Bobo?
In the trunk of my car.
Do you see why I was so upset? He treated my Bobo like some defector we were removing.
Wasn't your husband just trying to please you?
Oh, great. Now you're taking his side?
I'm a marital therapist, not a referee. I don't take sides. I was just commenting that your husband was just trying to please you.
My husband was trying to deceive me.
Pleasing, deceiving, they are often the same things. Faking an orgasm, for instance, pleasing or deceiving.
We might be in the deception business, but we're not in the business of lying to each other. I just can't stand it that he duped me. It's embarrassing that the whole bureau heard me sing Bobo's Back, and then they heard how Sam lied to me.
And you've never lied to Sam?
Never.
Really? How much did you pay for that handbag? How much?
My purse?
I prefer handbag, but yes, your purse.
I don't remember.
I can play the recording when you told Sam what you paid for that handbag.
Oh, don't you remember, hon? You made a point of telling me that you conquered your purse problem, as we like to call it, and you bought this one at TJ Maxx for under $50.
That handbag cost more than $50.
I got it on sale.
Oh, on sale? That handbag couldn't be got for less than $300 in a good consignment shop. So now we've established that Kate has lied to you, Sam. How do you feel about that?
Deceived. Duped.
Oh, for Pete's sakes. We didn't come here to talk about my purse.
This is marital therapy, where everything is grist for the mill.
Okay, I might have a slight spending problem on purses, handbags, but finances are not a problem.
The Bureau worries about spending problems. All of our compromised assets did it for money or sex.
We don't have a sexual problem or a financial problem. I'm just mad at Sam right now. That's it. I'll get over it. I just don't like it that he lied. He tried to deceive me.
In my experience, deception is norm in marriage. You have each been deceived by the other. Duped is your word. Can you agree to be duped again?
But we have to know we can trust each other, not just in our marriage, but in our work together.
Absolutely. That's what I'm here for.
Telling us that lying is normal isn't exactly helping. We're finished here.
You don't understand. If I can't help you, you may be terminated.
We're both pension eligible, but we hadn't planned to retire now.
I didn't say retire.
Oh.
Exactly.
Oh.
Exactly. So let's continue. We should look at your history. Tell me how you first met. There's nothing in your files about your first encounter.
Well, I just graduated from college. I was a Spanish major and Russian, and I was hoping to work in the foreign service, see the world. Glamour and travel, and I agreed to work with the Bureau, and that's when I met Sam. He was a charmer.
1989. Reagan's last year in office. Busy time for the Bureau. I convinced her that she'd have a much more exciting time working in our counterintelligence section. Plus, she'd get to use that excellent Russian of hers.
You have to tell her that story?
Oh, you know I do.
What story?
Well, I wanted to impress Sam with what I thought was my excellent Russian. I was trying to say I work in the factory all day without any rest. But
but what she said was, I work in the factory all day without clothes.
No, she didn't.
She did. I don't know how I kept a straight face.
And he didn't point out my mistake until the second day.
Oh, by then I was hoping she'd be working in our factory all day without rest or clothes.
The Bureau is happy when couples find each other. It's a lonely and tedious occupation otherwise.
Yeah, more spy who came in from the cold than James Bond. We're really happy we found each other, aren't we, sweetheart?
Yes, and I forgive you.
Well, look, like our time is up. I think we can terminate.
Well, wait a minute. You said that we were doing well.
You can see we get along. There's really no need to talk termination.
Oh, my dear, it's not that kind of termination. I meant the psychotherapy kind. I'm going to recommend that you two continue with the Bureau with one stipulation.
What's that?
The dog goes to obedience school. And if he can't learn to stay off the bed, then terminate him.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, that is the first of our 3 presentations by Candace Perry. One of the things I love about Candace is she loves to come up with these rather quirky situations, and then puts these characters, these rather interesting and unique characters in these situations, and then has them work their way out of them. And we're going to see a little bit more of that in our next presentation. Now, if you enjoyed that, if you enjoyed Grist for the Mill, please, as I've said before, please consider making a donation. You can text ETC to 44321, and that'll bring you to a secure link to make a donation, or you can go to our website, eventidearts.org, and you can become a member there, or you can just send a donation our way to help support Candace and her work and the Playwrights Lab and this virtual playhouse. Now, our second presentation, again, similar to Grist for the Mill, which was a story about as you saw, 2 secret agents in marriage counseling. We have another show, which I'm sure, well, you may be able to infer what that's about by the title. The next play from Candace today is called A Super Reunion. Please sit back and enjoy.
Could you come in here and help me for a minute? Clark! Clark!
Hold your horses! I'm coming! Where's the fire?
There's no fire. I need your help with something.
I'll say, what a mess!
Hey! I don't need my clothes rolled. I can pack myself.
You said you needed my help. You can get more in.
Not with that. I'm trying to figure out what to wear to the reunion, and I need your opinion. Does this make me look fat?
It's a nice cape.
That's not the question. Look, what do you think?
I think you're beautiful.
So it makes me look big, like Big Bertha big?
I didn't say that.
You didn't have to.
Why do you even have to go, honey?
To the reunion?
Yes, to the reunion.
The super reunion. The 40th? Of all the characters that debuted in the 1980s, you think I should just stay home? What, watch your old reruns?
Try not to get upset.
If I were upset, there would be lightning bolts, thunder crashing, and hail the size of bowling balls, mister.
No one admires your powers more than I do, sweetheart. I'm just saying. You know, you don't have to go.
Of course I have to go. Did you forget I'm chairing the Costume Advocacy Committee?
Right.
Sometimes I swear I'm just talking to myself.
I remember. You and the girls were gonna... I'm sorry, you and some of the other female superheroes, you were getting together to voice your complaints about the costumes, that's what.
Because it's ridiculous that even today, all the women are drawn with huge boobs and cinched corsets, waists like Scarlett O'Hara, and boots. High heels guaranteed to break an ankle. Who can work in those outfits?
Couldn't somebody else chair the committee?
Clark, everyone will be at the reunion. How will it look if I don't show? Like I'm washed up, finished.
I didn't go to mine.
Well, you didn't have to. You're retired, beloved.
You're very well liked.
Thanks. But your legacy is assured. You're iconic. I'm Wow Woman. Never even had my own TV show. No action figure. Nothing.
You caught my eye.
Well, I have to be more than just your wife. I need to make my mark.
And you think going to the league reunion will somehow help you do that? In my day, it was just a big strut fest.
Well, sure, that hasn't changed.
And you'll have to watch out for Ace Man. I hear he still chases every cape he can.
Not to worry, one leering look from him and you know what he has coming. Oh, wham, pow, sucker! And then he'll get the look.
Not the look. That poor guy.
Poor guy. Ace Man is a lech who uses his powers in ways that are despicable. X-ray vision on that girl's dorm. Disgusting. The league should censor him. But oh no, the buddy-buddy system won't allow that.
Well, you're right.
Don't patronize me.
I said you're right. How's that patronizing?
Did you ever use your influence with the league to get him censored? Did you ever write an opinion in the Super Gazette? I didn't think so.
I'm not political. You knew that when you married me.
I assumed you'd change.
You assumed you'd use those charms of yours to get me to...
Stop it, I'm not kidding. You had all this power, and what did you do with it?
What did I do with it? I just saved the world umpteen times, that's all.
Well, bully for you. You threw yourself on a few nuclear missiles. How about shutting down the company that makes nuclear missiles?
Wanda, you're hardly new to this. That is not how it works.
I know. 40 years. Wham, pow, sucko! Wow Woman fights evil. Wow Woman overcomes the evil axis, the drug scumbags. So what? It's like house cleaning.
You lost me.
The bad guys. They're like dust mites. They just come back again and again and again.
Oh, so you're saying you want to retire too?
No, I'm saying I want it to matter. I want to go after real crooks. I want what I do to make a difference, to really change the world.
Honey, I think you're getting a little bit worked up over this reunion.
Worked up?
Yeah, worked up, like you're trying to get some best-in-class trophy.
Clark, sometimes I swear.
What?
Just don't tempt me.
Look, sweetheart, being a superhero isn't easy. Maybe it's just not in a woman's nature.
You should stop.
I'm just saying. Ridding the world of evil, it's complicated work. And maybe you and your girlfriend should...
I warned you.
Jeepers, Wanda, what the hell?
How dare you suggest that banishing evil isn't woman's work?
I'm sorry. You seem well overwhelmed.
Anyone who's paying attention is overwhelmed. It doesn't mean that I'm quitting or retiring. We don't all have that luxury.
Oh, so you think I shouldn't have retired?
You felt you earned it.
But what?
Well, you're just not the man I married.
Oh, so that's what this is about.
What?
Class reunions aren't just for catching up with old friends and figuring out new ways to combat malevolent forces. I know what's going on.
I have no idea what you're talking about.
Sex!
Sex? You think I'm going to the reunion for sex?
Yes! Super sex! You just said I'm not the man I used to be.
Honey, I didn't mean that. You're still the man in that department.
It's just, I know all about these rekindled romances, lost loves, reunited at these class reunions.
You're watching daytime television again. I thought we agreed.
Sorry, retirement gets so boring.
Well, you want to come to the reunion?
No, not really. I just don't want you to rekindle any old flames there.
Honey, fireman is such a thing of the past.
Are you sure?
Completely sure. I gotta get going.
Are we okay?
Of course we're okay. You're my superhero.
You're mine.
I'm really glad we got all this out in the open, honey. Honesty, it's best.
I agree. And, honestly, sweetheart, don't wear that cape.
Really?
It hides your beautiful figure.
Oh, thanks, hon. I got a jet. I love you.
I love you too, sweetheart. Have a great time.
Oh, I love it. Well, I hope you guys got a kick out of that one as well. Again, thank you for joining us here today for our virtual Playhouse. We have one more presentation for you. Before we jump into that one, and we are going to do a Q&A afterwards, so please stick around for that. Before we jump into that, I just want to remind you again, coming up, starting on July 22nd, we are going to have a limited run of our new presentation of Twain by the Tale. We are treating it as a regular production, so there are only a certain number of tickets available per evening. So you would need to choose which evening you wanted to view, and you would purchase that ticket and have a theater evening. The nice thing is, one ticket will get you a stream for your computer, or you can set it up if you have your system set up to do this. You can have an app for your television, and the entire family can sit down and watch the show. And since it is Twain, the stories are definitely appropriate for all ages. Not necessarily saying there aren't components of it that are a little racy, but it wouldn't be Twain if there wasn't a little bit of entendre in there. But the wit and the wisdom and the characters are all just so much fun. So we would ask you, please take a look at your calendars and choose a date to join us. We start July 22nd, and we're just like our regular stage performances. It runs Thursday through Sunday. You can join us, and once you've purchased a link, you can stream it at any time for 48 hours afterwards. So if you plan on joining us for an evening and you're late, you can't make it, you can still tune in at a later time or at another date and use that link. It'll still be good for you. But we do encourage people to join us in the virtual theater, because we do get to enjoy the presence of our audience, and we get to have the chat rooms open, which is an awful lot of fun. You can see, I'm sure you can probably figure out that behind me, I've got this screen here, and of course, the fact of the matter is, it's actually just my green screen, which is, but the quality of the production that Twain is going to be presenting, the quality of editing, makes this stuff look like child's play. It's such a brilliant production. I would encourage you, please purchase your tickets and come and join us. Also consider making a donation by texting the letters ETC to 44321. That brings you to a secure link where you can also make a donation. Now, ladies and gentlemen, our last presentation from Candace Perry today is a play called Isn't It Romantic? And I don't actually have anything else to say about this. I'm going to let the play speak for itself, and then afterwards we'll all be back here in this room, and I hope you'll join us. Thank you so much, and please enjoy the next presentation, Candace Perry's Isn't It Romantic?
Welcome to the Liberté Plantation and our Zoom production of Isn't It Romantic, a short play written and directed by Candace Perry. Actors are Sally Ty in the part of Beth Sanders, Cynthia Harrington as Claire St. John, and Racine Oxtoby as her daughter Catherine. The room you see pictured here is where we imagine the play taking place. However, the actors are safely performing from their homes. The time is the present. And now, isn't it romantic?
Exquisite.
Oh, Mama, it's perfect. I still can't believe you found this plantation on the internet. No one else in the sorority has ever mentioned Liberté Plantation before.
You didn't tell anything.
No, ma'am, not a word.
Good girl. We want you to be the first. Surely if this is opening day, they haven't had time to book any weddings. Can you imagine a more romantic place to say your vows?
Ugh, everything is so beautiful.
And authentic. Take a look at that ceiling medallion. Not one of those tacky plastic jobs. Made out of marble dust, horsehair, and molasses.
Oh, wow. Kyle is going to adore this. Don't you think?
Sweetheart, Kyle adores whatever you tell him to adore. Excellent paint job. Not one of those quick slap-it-on covered-up operations that you see on so many so-called restorations. I do believe we have found the real deal.
Yes, ma'am. I can't believe I'm so lucky.
How many times must I tell you that we make our luck? And you have done very well, despite certain challenges.
Oh, please don't go picking on Daddy. At least the two of you are talking about the wedding. Maybe you'll get to be friends.
Catherine, divorced people have no business being friends. If they could be friends, they should have stayed married and spare everyone a great deal of grief.
Yes, ma'am.
I take my share of the blame. What was I thinking? Eloping like that to New York City of all places?
Mama, you and Daddy were married for 25 years. I don't think eloping had anything to do with your divorce.
You don't know the half of it, but don't get me started. What I know is that we're going to do your wedding properly.
But not too formal.
Now, don't you worry. Your wedding will be classic. I'm so impressed with this place. Nowadays, it seems the only plantations they keep up are the ones owned by the oil companies. Something tawdry about that.
At Sarah Ruth's wedding, we could all smell the refinery next door.
Such a shame that so many homes along the river road have been allowed to fall into the wrong hands. Now this place...
Hello? Can I help you?
Oh, sorry, we let ourselves in. The door was open.
We have an appointment for 1 o'clock.
We're early.
Yes, a bit. You must be Mrs. St. John, and...
Catherine, her daughter.
And I'm Beth Sanders. I was just putting on the finishing touches before your tour was scheduled to begin.
Oh, well, don't let us get in the way of your work. If you'll just tell the owner we're here.
I am the owner. We spoke on the phone, Mrs. St. John.
Oh, yes. Well, I'm terrible at remembering names. I just didn't expect. I didn't.
That I'd be black?
Well, it is unusual to meet an Afro-American who takes such an interest in the historic restoration of plantations. I simply meant that...
Mrs. St. John, I'm well aware of what you meant.
We love your plantation. It's perfect.
Thank you. Let me put away this dust rag and get my notes.
Well, she didn't need to get so uppity.
Mama, people don't use that word anymore. It's racist.
You know perfectly well there's not a racist bone in my body. She didn't need to be so rude.
Let's not argue, okay?
Who's arguing? I was simply making the point.
Oh, Mama, you're right. Miss Sanders has done a fantastic job.
Thank you.
And we can't wait to hear all about what you've done here at Liberté Plantation. Does the tour begin in this room?
Actually, the tour begins at the slave cabin in the back.
Oh. Well, I know we came early. We'll wait if your tour guides are still on break. I hope you don't allow them to smoke, though. I just hate seeing those girls in their hoop skirts smoking.
I don't have girls in costumes. I conduct a tour. No hoop skirts here, since we're concerned with the year 1811. Hoop skirts didn't come into style until the mid-19th century.
I always pictured hoop skirts on a plantation.
That's what I hope to set right with this tour. So many associations with the antebellum period have been incorrectly presented in popular culture and even in our history books.
Well, live and learn, as I always say. Are we your first customers?
Yes, in fact, you are.
Oh, that's great.
Okay, let me give you some background, and then we'll proceed to the cabin. 200 years ago, the largest revolt of enslaved people in North America began right here.
You don't mean it. Well, I've toured plantation homes all the way from Virginia to Louisiana, and I've never heard tell of a slave revolt in these parts.
I'm not surprised you never heard of it, about the revolt before now. I grew up around here, and I never heard of it either.
My high school history class left it out too.
It wasn't until I was teaching at Oberlin in Ohio that I learned about the revolt of 1811, right here in my own backyard. So I started researching the history of the people enslaved here. When it was time to retire, I took my savings and came back, determined to create a truly authentic plantation experience.
Wow, that's amazing.
And from the looks of it, you've gotten every detail just right.
So let's begin, shall we? Most people have heard of the Nat Turner, John Brown rebellions, but few know that in January of 1811, Charles DeLong led 500 enslaved men and women.
Well, there used to be a DeLong plantation on the River Road. Was that his?
No, Charles DeLong was the enslaved person on that plantation, the leader of the slave revolt.
Oh, I see.
He was joined by almost 500 others from plantations all along the River Road in a desperate attempt for freedom.
Just fascinating. You know, we are in a bit of a hurry, so maybe we could just skip some of the history part of the tour.
The history part is the tour.
I just think my mother means that she's anxious to see all of the plantation.
The purpose of Liberté Plantation Tour is to tell the story of slavery, to show how it really was and what really happened here.
Evergreen Plantation has something similar on their website. They play Old Man River and show the slaves dancing and cutting sugarcane.
The myth of the happy slave is what the tour at Liberté aims to dispel. Sugarcane plantations were brutal.
And aren't we all glad those days are behind us? Can you show us some of the other rooms? Maybe tell us a bit about the furniture.
Mrs. St. John, Catherine, I don't know what you're doing here. If you don't want to know about the history, what do you want?
We want the tour. And if the rest is done to the same high standards as this part of the house, then we'd like to engage Liberté Plantation.
For what?
Well, my wedding.
A wedding?
Yes, our Catherine is marrying a lovely young man. Kyle is from a fine family.
I have sunk my entire life savings into this place to tell a story that needs telling. I don't do weddings here.
But all the other plantations do.
All the others tell the Gone with the Wind version of what happened.
Some people prefer a more romantic version.
Enslaved women were regularly raped by their masters to produce more slaves. That's romance?
No, that's gross.
But horrible, shameful, but that's just how it was back then.
When Charles DeLong and the other leaders of the slave revolt were captured, their heads were chopped off and put on pikes lining the river road all the way to New Orleans and left to rot for months and months.
Oh, that's just horrible.
Horrible is correct. Having a wedding here would be like having a wedding at Auschwitz.
That's ridiculous. No one would want to have a wedding someplace so ugly.
This place was ugly. The slave cabin in comparison with the big house shows that.
But the house is so beautiful.
Beauty is a great deceiver. The good old days weren't so good for many people. This furniture, the ceiling medallions, this very house, all were made by real people, by enslaved humans who had their lives stolen from them.
But that was a very long time ago. Slavery is over. But this beautiful plantation remains. Surely you can see how suited the house and the grounds are for a wedding, and we would compensate you very well.
I'm well aware that even today, after other monuments to the past have been toppled, plantations still hold weddings, but not here.
But the world is different now.
Let me ask you this, Catherine. If you were marrying a Black man, would you feel any discomfort inviting his family to attend your wedding here, in a place where his people had been held against their will, raped, tortured, and murdered?
You make a good point, Miss Sanders, but Catherine isn't marrying a Black man. Not that I'd have any problem with that. In fact, in high school, she had a huge crush on a Black boy.
Mama, I had more than a crush on Devon. He was my first love. You never liked him, but Daddy did.
Your daddy was just impressed that Devon won the basketball scholarship to Duke. He was too tall for you.
Well, if he hadn't gone to Duke, maybe we would have stayed together.
No one expected you to keep a high school romance going that far apart. He moved on, but you moved on too. And look, here you are now, about to marry the most wonderful young man. If Miss Sanders is determined not to let us use Liberté for the wedding, we'd better go look at some other plantations while we're in the neighborhood.
Mama, I don't think I want to get married at a plantation after all.
Don't be ridiculous. We decided that a plantation is the perfect setting for your wedding.
No, you decided.
I don't appreciate that tone of voice, young lady.
I'm sorry. It's just, I never looked at it, from the other point of view before.
I swear, you get more like your father every day. It's not like we're asking anyone to be a slave. Miss Sanders, how much do we owe you?
Nothing. You didn't take the tour.
but I got the tour.
Yeah, you did.
Ah, there we go. Wow. That was pretty powerful. Ladies and gentlemen, those are our 3 presentations for today. So what I'd like to do right now is we are going to invite in some of our attendees, including our author, to be part of our panel. See if I can get Candace in here and she can let me know who else we should expect. But this is an opportunity for you. If you have any questions about any of these presentations that you saw today, what I would ask is you please type your questions into the chat. We'll see them and we'll be able to discuss them. And it'll give us an opportunity to talk a little bit about these 3 presentations, if you have a question about any of them, or if you have any questions about some of the other upcoming things that we have planned. Candace, are you there with us? There we are.
Yes.
Hi, Candace. How are you doing?
Hi. That was fun to see those again, to revisit them.
Excellent. Candace, I gotta say, I am constantly thrown by the quirky characters you introduce with, you know, spies and marriage counseling and superhero reunions. I think that's fantastic. And then we take this huge shift that I didn't want to talk about until everybody had a chance to watch. We took this huge shift from something that was rather whimsical to something that was really, really present and very real, which addresses a struggle that honestly, culturally, we're dealing with today, and it's definitely a generational struggle. So can you tell us a little bit about where do these ideas come from? How do you go from a superhero reunion to planning a wedding on a plantation?
Well, one of the themes that I think is in all of them, they all actually have to do with couples, right, and relationships. They were all produced during the pandemic. That was why I called it Pandemic Productions. And so they weren't done to be together, but it sort of turned out that way. And I really like the idea that we got to include 2 that were done on Zoom and 2 that were done, and 1 that was done, filmed actually live on stage. Interestingly, of the 3 plays, 2 had couples in them, and that were coming out of the pandemic. If you recall, people couldn't be on stage together. But Diane Brunt and Brad Morse are a couple, so they were the superheroes. They could be on stage together. And Mary Chris Kinney and her husband Ken are a couple, and so they could be in the frame together, even though Sally, you know, had to be in the other frame. Now I think some of them may be coming on.
Who should we invite in? I don't know who's.
If I can see who the participants are, if I can tell that. Is Cindy Harrington there?
She is. I don't want to promote her unless she's expecting it, though, because I can move people. Okay.
She's
all right. So let's move her into
Diane Brunt and Brad Morse. I don't know if they're in something together.
I see Brad Morse, so let me bring Brad in.
Okay. And let's see if Diane is with him, or let's see that. And then really nice, we have Bob Costa, who directed A Super Reunion. And I see maybe Janet Moore is going to come on.
Look at this. Oh, here comes the crowd. Look at this.
There's Diane and Brad. Hi there.
It's like a party.
Yeah. And Bob Costa.
Great.
There's Cindy.
Excellent. Well, everybody, welcome. Thanks for joining us. Great work today. Just great work. It was so much fun to see these different stories and these different takes. So we do have a few questions in the chat already. Before we jump to those, Candace, why don't you tell us, you know, what it was like working with these folks, and kind of give us a little bit, you know, and then we'll throw the ball over to those folks and we'll get some comments from them, because I'm always curious to hear what people's experiences are working in the Zoom format, because it is such a unique setup.
You know, it's challenging. Even today, like I heard some sound that I didn't think was in the play, but you know, you can't help it. I mean, these things happen. So at one point it sounded to me like a vacuum cleaner was running in the background, and that's just technology. So what are you going to do about it? What I love about the Zoom and about filming a live play is at least we still did theater. You know, we kept it alive. Let me just ask, is Mary Chris Kinney on there? I'm not sure if she's joining us.
I don't see her on
Okay,
there.
so she
no.
may not, several of our folks had to work. So, but we have a nice representation here. So the Zoom, you know, we did it. I mean, this is when we were really isolated. And, you know, we were like, Cindy was in her basement doing Isn't It Romantic? And Racine was in her house and Sally was in her house. And then Sally was kind of neat because you got to see Sally in a different play. And so she had a different background and kind of different costume. They were done at a different time. And that was when we did that for Eventide Showcase. And then Diane and Brad were actually on the stage with Bob directing. Chris Ostrom, huge shout out to him from the Wellfleet Harbor Actors Theater. We got to use the stage. He did the sounds and the lighting for us. We all were masked and distanced from each other. So it's kind of weird to be in the theater and to watch the play, but to only be the audience of two, and we couldn't really make any sound. So we didn't get to applaud and laugh. I think that's the biggest thing to me that's missing doing this. You don't get the sense of the audience. So it would be nice to know if the audience has any questions here today.
Great. Well, we do have a few in here. Before we jump into those questions, I do want to kind of chat and talk about, you know, Cindy, I know you've done some work with Eventide before. How was it doing this Zoom presentation for this, and what was your experience like?
Well, I agree with Candace that I really enjoy the feedback from the audience when you're in a live production. And being in my basement with the sound being weird, it was a little hard. And then, so I was able to see the other two characters on the screen. But the way we did it was, if I was talking, then I would come up on the screen, and then as soon as somebody else started talking, their image would pop up. And it was a little difficult that way, but I was happy that we did it. I was a little, like, before we did it, I was like, oh, is this gonna work? But I think it actually did. I think people got the essence of it.
I would say you're right. I think one of the interesting things, you know, we at Eventide have been doing virtual presentations since the get-go. In fact, I'm pretty certain that we were the first theater on Cape Cod to do a virtual presentation early out of the gate, because our Playwrights competition winner, Touched by War, was supposed to go up, and we needed to find a way to present the winner. And we did do it as a virtual production. And we were patting ourselves on the back because we were doing things like handoffs in front of the camera, trying to make it look like that. We were so excited. And where we were then with people, you know, doing a play, looking at their script, looking up and doing it, to where we've come now is really, really remarkable. And what I also find interesting is that there's no playbook. So everyone who does it has to really reach out to other people who've done it. And like, how did you do it? What did you do? How'd you do that little trick? I saw you did something in a production for this theater. What buttons did you push to make that happen? And it really has been a growing and learning experience, I know, for all of us. I'm curious, Bob, how was it approaching your production? Because you were filming a show on a stage, which is really unique, but you knew it was going to be for a virtual broadcast or for a simulcast type audience. How was it experiencing that, and what was it like having your presentation without an audience? And then I'd love to hear from your cast about that too.
Yeah, well, it was really not much different from all the other things I did. I mean, normally when you're directing, there's no audience. You miss the result of having the audience appreciate it and all the rest of that kind of stuff. But, you know, my job as a director is to create the atmosphere of ordinariness in whatever the situation is, so that performers get to be who they are through the characters that they're playing. And you know, I found it actually a little bit easier to do that in this production than I normally do. So I'd love to do another one like this. You know, while we're here not being able to be in theaters and stuff like that, let's take advantage of it.
Now we have the actors who are in that show. If you guys want to come on and just introduce yourselves and tell us, what was it like to be able to perform together, but also realizing that it was this performance in this sort of separate space?
Yeah.
Well, I thought it was awesome. I mean, I missed during the performance having an audience for sure, but the rest of it felt pretty much normal. And I was watching Cynthia in her play and thinking, there is no way I wouldn't have been able to pull that off. Like the delay and all that stuff, you made it seamless. And I don't think if we hadn't been on stage with each other, that was hard enough. I don't know if we could have pulled off the Zoom, what you were just talking about. It was really cool to watch you pull that off.
Yeah, I felt like we were really lucky to be at the Watt Theater, and you know, our play was 8 minutes, and I couldn't believe how much work went into 8 minutes. And at one point during the filming, I was nervous I couldn't pull it off, and I knew it so well, and I couldn't believe just the pressure of just like Chris there and Bob and Candace. Like that was pressure as opposed to, you know. But I haven't done a lot of acting, but I had done another show with a lot of people there. That one, it was still nerve-wracking, you know, having to do that. And it was very, it felt great to be doing something during this time because it had been so trying not having like that creative outlet or something to focus on. It makes you feel better, you know, it makes you feel different. Or actually being a different person, because I get sick of being myself, you know.
Well, I think Brad and Diane, I think you did a great job in that role. And that's a good point, Bob, that it's in a way, it's almost like filming a rehearsal. I guess it is close to that. And I wanted to go back to Isn't It Romantic? When I directed that one because on Zoom it's just hard to get somebody else to come do it for you. And decided to do it in what's called speaker view rather than gallery view. The first play, the Grist for the Mill, was in gallery view so that you saw Sally in one frame and you saw Ken and Mary Chris in the other. But for this one, we decided that we would do them individually just for a kind of different look. And Cindy, why else did we want to do it that way? Oops, you're muted. You're muted.
I don't remember. I don't know if we were having trouble with the microphone and people talking over each other, that I think the images may have gotten messed up. And
I think there's a bit of that. And there's also the sense of if you do it in gallery view, well, like if you look at us right now, like some of us, you really see like headshots, and yet Brad and Diane, you're seeing more whole bodies. And Bob's head is, you see more of him. And so if you're trying to do them in a gallery and you want them to look like they're together, that's a little challenging. And so I had a friend who was doing some plays in Santa Fe, and he did them in speaker view. And I kind of got used to that. I sort of liked it. And so that's why we tried that one, tried it that way.
I think also you decided because we couldn't get the same backgrounds,
right,
that it would just, instead of all three of us with a different background, we were all in the same space. It might.
Yeah. For those of you who don't know, I mean, Chris said sort of casually, oh yes, I have my green screen and I use my virtual background. If you don't have a really good green screen and then you use a virtual background, you get some weird effects. You're like hair starts floating and other things.
Bad lighting.
Yes. Yeah.
It's definitely a challenge and a learning experience, I will say. So we've spent a lot of time talking about Zoom, and I love talking about it because I'm always curious about people's experiences. But I'd like to shift focus back to the plays themselves and the content. We've got a great question from Jim Daglish, who is in our audience, who I didn't know was in our audience. And I'm going to make a little pitch here for a second, Candace. I mentioned early on that Jim produced, directed, edited this gorgeous show, Teacher of the Year. It is moving, it is amusing, it is heartbreaking, it is phenomenally powerful. We had the opportunity to see a broadcast of it from beginning to end at Katuitt Center for the Arts. He produced the show Teacher of the Year, and it was a very moving and powerful production. If you have not had a chance to see it, I strongly encourage you, click on the links on our website, eventidearts.org. Follow those links and purchase a streaming ticket. Take some time to watch it. It is powerful, it is relevant, and it is well worth your time. Jim has mentioned that he's planning on submitting that to a few potential film festivals, and because of how unique and incredible and remarkable this show is, I wouldn't be surprised if you start hearing a lot more about it. So get in on the ground floor and check it out. So with that little pitch, Jim, who is also a member of Playwrights, etc., asks a question directly of you, Candace, and he would like to know, how have your experiences living in New Orleans informed the last play that we saw?
Oh, well, thank you, Jim. And I'll just ditto everything you said about Teacher of the Year. Don't miss it. I did watch it in installments, and it worked very well that way too. I think I'm probably going to watch it again, like watch the whole thing together and see how that feels. I grew up kind of all over the South. My father was in the military, so I lived in many places, South Carolina, Florida, Georgia, Texas, Louisiana. My mother's family was from Mississippi, and my father insisted we were not Southerners. So that's just to start with, okay? And I remember taking my mom on a tour of a plantation and talking about how the plantation tour just shows you all these sort of lovely Gone with the Wind images, and talking about, you know, there were slaves here. Enslaved people made this happen. And I told my mom that I had read about what happened with the heads of the people who revolted being cut off and lined along the river road for months to rot. And my mother, who's very Southern, said, "Oh, just don't tell me that. I don't want to know that." And that just really stuck with me. Like, I don't want to know that. And we need to know it. You know, that's all I can say. We need to know it, I think. So that's how it's influenced me to have lived in that atmosphere where especially white people maybe don't want to know things that other people have had to live with and have had to know. And I think we're in a transitioning period right now. And I think it's a very exciting period.
I would agree. I think it's actually interesting just how relevant and timely that particular piece is right now. And I know it was not something that you anticipated when you wrote it and developed that piece. But since then, in just the past month, the discussion of, you know, the catchphrase critical race theory, but the conversation about, you know, the true history of American history and what actually happened and how it should be taught and how it should be passed on has become so prominent in the national discussion right now. I just find it really interesting how prescient and relevant that play is at this moment.
Thank you. Well, I'll give it another pitch. It is a theme I've written about a lot. I have a full-length play called Along the River Road that I was actually commissioned to write as part of the Foursquare Theater Collaborative. And it's had many readings, but never a production. And I've had other short plays I've done that deal with some of these issues. And Janet directed one, The Tour, that I try to sort of take on these kind of issues, but make them, what do I want to say, not palatable, that's not the right word, but come at them kind of from a different way, I guess.
That's actually the next question. Maureen Condon actually mentioned Along the River Road. Can you tell us a little bit more about that project?
Well, Along the River Road is a full-length play. We've had 5 readings of it now. The Foursquare Collaborative was 4 theaters, and I represented the Provincetown Theater in that. And it was when the Harwich Junior Theater was called Harwich Junior Theater, and Catuit and the Woods Hole Theater were the 4. And so we took the plays each quarter to different places, and I really rewrote every time before we put it up again for a reading. And that play takes place in 1811, and then it alternates in 2011. So it has the actors play in both time periods, and so you actually have the revolt itself, the planning for it going on. And one of the greatest things I learned by doing it before an audience, in the original version, you knew from the get-go that the revolt was going to fail. And a friend came up to me at the end and she said, "I wish you wouldn't have revealed that." And I said, "Well, come on. I mean, we know that slavery didn't end in 1811. You know, we know that any revolt that happened failed." She said, "Yeah, but I wanted to watch it with those characters as they thought they were going to succeed." And so that was a big change I made in it. And I thought she was right, because the characters didn't know it wasn't going to succeed. They had put everything into it. and its failure was devastating to them. And then it went back into present time, and a woman, kind of like the character Sally plays in Isn't It Romantic, has purchased a plantation and redone it to tell the story of slavery. And in life imitating art, I was working on this play, and my brother, who lives in Louisiana, sent me an article and said, "Do you know about this plantation? It's the Whitney plantation that a older, my age, white man bought and has redone to tell the story of slavery." And I've met with him, and when when I asked him, I said, like, "How did you decide to do this? Why are you doing it?" And he said, "Do you think it needs to be done?" And I said, "Absolutely." He said, "Well, I didn't notice you doing it." So the Whitney plantation, look that up. And so I was writing my play while he was creating the Whitney plantation. And someday I'd love to have the play done there. So we've talked about that some.
Well, that's a great segue into the last comment I'm going to read here, which is from Maureen Condon, who's also a member of our Playwrights, etc. She suggested placing Isn't It Romantic with a licensing company so that it could be done for schools and for colleges and for small theater groups. And I think that's not a bad idea. It certainly is relevant, and it's brief enough to carry the impact and to resonate. But it would do exactly that. It is the sort of piece that you could perform either as an environmental piece at a plantation that's willing to explore those pieces, or as part of a curriculum. I think it would be a really neat opportunity to explore something like that. So
good idea.
I don't have any more questions in the Q&A box. I don't know if anybody else here has anything they want to share about their experiences doing this.
I would just like to make one other comment, and that is, obviously, Isn't It Romantic? You see the social justice issues in that. But I think with a super reunion, hopefully you got some of the feminist issues that were in that, and also in Grist for the Mill, like what was happening between this couple and what kind of work are they doing that we might wonder about. So I just
I will say that was interesting. The superhero piece actually resonated. I like superhero stuff. I love the superhero movies. But something that I've seen that's an interesting trend in these storylines, and there's a new series out called The Boys, which is about the very, very dark side of superheroes. And it's not a pretty show. It's not a family show by any stretch of the imagination. But I'm finding a trend. I don't want to say post-Trump because it was around there, but in this Trump and post-Trump era, that there's a lot of analysis of superheroes and their human failings. These icons that have been held up as being these just the standard by what the Superman type of characters, and then a lot of the recent interpretations of these have shown them as much more failure, much more human, much more dealing with the struggles of day to day, the struggles of fame, the struggles of power, and in Reunion, the struggles of aging, the struggles of gender. So I thought that was a really interesting perspective, and again, it's something that I have noticed culturally that is happening in the superhero zeitgeist, for lack of a better term. And I thought it was interesting that you locked in on that as well. That was pretty cool. So I think that pretty much brings us right to the end here. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank you all for joining us. I want to thank the cast and the production crew for being a part of this and helping to make our virtual Playhouse this month what it was. It was a great day for it. It was kind of dreary and muggy outside, so it's a good day to sit inside and enjoy some beautiful theater. We hope that you'll be back again with us next month. Jen, I've totally, is it Tempest in a Teacup is that they're doing?
Tempest, yes, wait. I had the name of it. Ocean. It's
Ocean in a Teacup.
In a Teacup, thank you.
Ocean in a Teacup, which is written by an author from New York, Joel, what's his last name? I forget now.
Oh, for gosh, you keep asking me these questions.
I know, and I should have these at my fingertips. It's terrible. It's a really neat story based on actual events about a taxi cab driver and a guitarist, I believe.
It takes place in India, and it's a musical.
It's
Oh.
very cool. I've seen the previews of it. I haven't watched the whole thing because I haven't wanted to ruin it for myself. But please join us back here next month for our virtual Playhouse. We will be doing a production of Ocean in a Teacup. I would encourage you all to participate. And again, as I've said before, if you enjoyed what we did today, if you want to support what we're doing and support our mission, please make a donation. Text the letters ETC to 44321 to get a link, a secure link to make a donation, or go to our website and become a member, become a part of what we do. We're going to be having a lot of really fun things in the future over this year for our members, things that are going to be unique and special, and it's a great opportunity for you to participate. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Chris Edwards. I'm the Artistic Director here at Eventide Theater. Thank you so much for joining us. Have a wonderful weekend.
Thank you,
Good to see
creative
everybody.
team.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.